So this illustration shows the previous nose I deconstructed for you in context, in its final context, that is. And this is a character I call the Vector Professor for no specific reason other than I couldn't come up with a better name for him. But the same principles I went over in the previous movie in terms of constructing and modeling the nose and shaping it, I use those same principles elsewhere in this specific illustration. I used them, if we zoom in here on his cheek, I used the same principle to kind of model his cheek. You can find the same principle being used elsewhere, such as his lips and on his chin. So I used all of those kind of modeling principles to construct all the aspects of this character. But one of the specific things I want to focus on by showing you this artwork is another way to use gradients. And in this case, it comes down to the detailing on this character illustration's eyes. So if I zoom in on his eye, you can see that he's wearing a pair of glasses. But when somebody wears glasses and you look at them, the total value of their face changes because it's coming through glass, and I kind of wanted that effect. And so I created that. I have that layer toggled off right now, so I'm going to just toggle it on by clicking the visibility icon on the left. And you can see as I toggle on and off how that glass effect, kind of diminishes the value a little bit because it's reflecting off of his surface, in this case, the glass on his pair of glasses. So I want to show you exactly how I set that up because it's a little different way of using gradients, and it'll show you a way how you can think about gradients other than the normal method of use that most people use gradients in. So if you hold down your Option key, we can turn off all the layers by just clicking on any of the visibility icons. So holding Option down, we're just going to turn off everything except this glass layer, and we're going to have a base color flush so you can see what I'm working on there. And this is the whole effect that is just nothing but gradient blends sitting on top of one another, and that is on its own layer sitting on top of the other aspects such as his eye. So we'll start by just dragging this one over. All this is just a little wedge shape. And if we go to we're going to slide this palette up so it's a little easier to see. Go to the gradient palette. You can see this is set up with just white blending out to 0% white alpha. I didn't even blend out to the flesh color because, as I stated in a previous movie, certain colors are more forgiving in terms of use of white, and one of those colors is flesh. So in this case, I don't need to worry about using a tint of the base color. You can get away with using white. That's just going to change based off of whatever color you're creating your gradients on. This next shape is a little different. It's set up a little differently, that is, and I'm going to just use the hand icon holding the space bar down to just slide into a different view. Now on this specific one, what you see right now is not a gradient shape. You can see nothing showing up in the gradient palette. What this actually is just a simple elliptical shape, and I've masked a gradient shape within it. So we're going to kind of cut that mask out now by going to Object, Clipping Mask, and we're going to go Release. That'll release the mask. So this was what we were using for the mask. We're just going to toss that because we don't need it right now. And what was inside of that mask was this. Once again, it's an elliptical shape, and that is set up with a radial blend. And the way this radial blend is set up, and this is what I'm talking about, an unorthodox use of gradients, is that we have it blending once again from white here to 0 alpha white, so transparent, and it's really thin here. So I've controlled this controller in the middle to really push it to a narrow width. So you're only getting a little kind of glow halo gradient all the way around this elliptical shape, and that gives the illusion of a lens. So that's how I pulled that off. We're just going to toss that to get it out of the way. If we go back up, once again, here's another gradient. So far we've used 2 gradients on top of each other. This is the third one now. And if I slide this over a little bit, we can toss this guy too. You can see on this one, All this is just an elliptical shape with another linear gradient just going from white to, once again, 0% alpha. Now, all of these, and if you check out the exercise files and drill down into all these layers and click around and check out what I have set for transparency, you're going to find that I vary the opacity on each of these in order so when they all combine together, it gives the effect I'm trying to achieve, in this case, glass. So this one's set for 55, and that's how that one is. Now, the last one I want to show you is another use of gradients in a different way. Once again, this overall shape right now is set to multiply, blend mode under transparency, set to multiply, not normal, multiply. If I turn it normal on, this is what it looks like. That's not what we want. We want this effect, so multiply. And it gives this darker rim of color, and that's because where the glass goes into the frame of the glasses is a little darker because it's a little crevice that goes back in there. So that's how we set that up. Now, once again, this gradient is kind of a small rim glow where I've pulled this controller over, so it's just this little width of gradient peeking out within this elliptical shape, and that gives us the illusion of depth. So if we turn all of our layers back on now, you can see that this glass effect, that's how I pulled that off. So all of these types of effects, when you use gradients, when you combine them together, really, really pull off incredible detailing methods. Now, this illustration, some people might say, man, I'd love to see this built from beginning to end, but this specific illustration took me 12 hours to put together. So a lot of time was spent in it. So just take your time, explore, experiment with transparency, with gradients, with mass, and your opacity settings, and what you'll achieve, I think, will surprise you.